In a small town in Oregon, something was stolen. No alarms were triggered. No doors were forced to open. And no official record shows that it ever existed. But everyone in Blackwater Ridge remembers the night it disappeared. Blackwater Ridge is not the kind of town people pass through by accident. If someone ends up there, it is usually on purpose or because they missed a turn hours earlier. The town sits between dense pine forests and an old highway that no longer appears on most navigation apps. It has one main road, a diner that closes early, a gas station that never upgraded its pumps, and fewer than 9,000 residents. But most people in Blacktown Ridge have lived there most of their lives. They recognize unfamiliar cars. They notice when porch lights stay on longer than usual. And they remember when something feels wrong, even if they never saw it out loud. For decades, Blackwater Ridge was known for being quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. No major crimes, no national headlines, no reason for anyone to look too closely. That changed one night in late October. At the edge of town stands the former Blackwater Ridge Police Department. The building is no longer active, but it was never fully abandoned either. Most operations moved to a newer facility years ago, leaving the old structure behind, along with much of what was inside it. Desks remained. Filing cabinets were never emptied. Some drawers were still locked. In the back of the building, there is a small room most people forgot existed. No windows, a single ceiling light that flickers when it rains, and an old wall-mounted telephone. The phone predates digital records. It has no caller ID, no voicemail, no reliable way to trace incoming calls. According to official documentation, that phone was disconnected in 1998. According to several people who worked in the building, that is not entirely true. Sometime in the early 2000s, an item was brought into the old police building. It was not entered into evidence. It wasn't logged into any database. It didn't receive any case number. It was kept off the books deliberately. Only a handful of people knew it existed. Even fewer knew where it was stored. Those who did know never agreed on exactly what it was. Some said it was physical evidence from an incident that was never officially reported. Others believed it was a recording, something captured accidentally. What they all agreed on was this: if the item had been logged, it would have forced an investigation that no one in Blackwater Ridge wanted. The evidence went missing on a Thursday night. There were no reports of forced entry, no broken locks, no missing keys. The door to the back room was unlocked. The light was still on. The evidence was simply gone. The first person to notice was a clerk assigned to inventory the building for eventual sale. At first, it seemed like a mistake. Old buildings lost things all the time, but when the clerk asked around, the answers didn't match. One former officer insisted the item had been moved weeks earlier. Another claimed it was never stored in that room at all. A third refused to discuss it entirely. By the end of the day, everyone who knew about the evidence knew one thing for certain: someone had taken it. In the days that followed, stories began to circulate quietly. A retired officer claimed to have seen lights on in the old building after midnight. A delivery driver said a car was parked out back, engine running, and lights off. A nearby resident remembered hearing a door close, though they couldn't say which night it was. None of these statements were recorded officially. No report was filed. No investigation was opened. The town handled it the way it handled most uncomfortable things, by not talking about it. 3 nights after, the evidence disappeared. The old phone rang. It was just after midnight. The sound startled the part-time custodian assigned to the building, mostly because the phone wasn't supposed to work. When it rang a second time, it was answered. No one on the other end spoke. The line stayed open. At first, 3 was only static. Then something else. A faint sound. Metal against metal. A dull thud. Breathing. The call lasted less than a minute. When the line went dead, the custodian didn't call it in. He didn't tell anyone until weeks later. When asked why, he said only this: "It felt like I wasn't supposed to hear it." After the call, the town grew quieter than usual. The clerks stopped asking questions. The retired officers avoided the subject. The building inspection was quietly postponed. No one ever filed a report about the missing evidence. No one followed up on the phone call. Unofficially, nothing had happened. Unofficially, everyone seemed to know who was responsible. But knowing and proving are two very different things. Years passed. The old police building remained standing, untouched. The phone stayed on the wall. The evidence never resurfaced. When asked about it later, a former department administrator claimed there was no record of such an item ever being held. And that was true. There was no paper trail, no case number, no inventory tag, just memories and one phone call. Today, Blackwater Ridge looks much the same. The diner still closes early. The forests are just as dense. The old police building still stands at the edge of town. The phone is still on the wall. It hasn't rung again, at least not officially. But a few months ago, a technician inspecting old landlines in the area noted something strange. That particular line was still active, and it had been used. There is no record of when the call was made, no recording, no way to trace the source, just confirmation that the phone, the one that was never supposed to work, was connected long after the evidence disappeared. In Blackwater Ridge, the case remains closed. No crime, no suspects, no missing item. But some things don't need to be logged to be remembered. And some evidence only disappears once.